Why collect money? What should I do with that? Well, why would you want to get paid for doing your own short sale? Number one, you wouldn't be in foreclosure if you weren't having a hard time. This can help with movement expenses. Occasionally, there may be some other debts you have. You need to settle on those or pay them off. And if you aren't successful for some reason at being able to fully pay off some of the liens on your house and you just get a release, especially second mortgages sometimes won't do a full settlement, and there's a little left over, you can use some of that money maybe to settle them for a certain percentage on the dollar after you're done foreclosing. This won't make you rich. It's not anything like that, but it is a reward for your effort, and it will help you be more successful at what you're trying to do. There's a lot of different ways to collect money, and I'm going to give you a bunch, but I'm going to recommend one way because most of them are going to get you in trouble if you try them. I will tell you about them because they are out there. The way I teach is get a brokerage rebate from a broker, and you develop a partnership with a real estate broker. You do all the work, and you can get paid through a contract through a contractual relationship with that broker. That's the best way to do it because typically a bank doesn't want to see you get proceeds from a sale, but if you get paid for working for somebody else to make this all happen, then you're really earning it for work and not for proceeds from the sale. Also, another legal way to do it is if you have an FHA loan, you can sometimes get paid to do a short sale directly. FHA will offer a $1,000 incentive, but typically most sellers that I see never receive that because although they may cooperate on a short sale like they're required to, if there's any extra expenses or the percentages don't work out exactly for FHA, then they just won't give it to you. If the junior lien wants more than $1,000, it just usually does not get paid. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you have an FHA loan, you can try for it, but you probably won't get it, in my experience. Another way that sometimes people do it is they actually get paid as a broker directly. They'll put their name right in the spot where a broker normally gets paid, and of course if there's a broker that won't work because the broker is going to be there. But as far as the closing statement goes, they'll get paid just as a broker. And you probably have to have a friendly title company to allow you to do that. It could be considered fraud, and if the bank sees your name on there, they probably won't like it too well that you're getting paid 5% of whatever. Other people they'll use a company or a DBA, but it's probably a little too close to fraud. You might have a hard time justifying it if someone were to review that. I don't recommend it, but some people use that, and they just simply don't do what the broker, they make themselves a broker. Other people, along the same vein, they would write in a processing fee. Right into the closing statement, when the house closes, they would write in a processing fee, and if the bank allows that, then that's extra funds that will be available through closing. Processing fees can be as low as $500 to $2,500, and the short selling bank won't look too closely at the estimated closing statement, and they'll approve that. And again, if you do that, it should be hopefully paid to your brokerage, and you get maybe a percentage of that. It makes the total money paid out higher, and that's one way of collecting extra fees. Other people would, again, have it paid to their company or to themselves. That may be questionable. With all the techniques that I teach, I recommend that you would contact an attorney and make sure that you feel really comfortable about using them. Laws differ in different states, and there's a lot of different nuances, ways you could apply things. So I always recommend that you get proper advice from someone local, someone that knows your situation. I'm not an attorney and I can't give you legal advice. Everything that I tell you is for educational use. Another thing that people sometimes do is, and I've heard of it happening, I don't recommend it, but there's a potential to increase your profit doing this, is they will actually sell the property to somebody they know or an entity that they own, like a company they own, and immediately almost at the same time sell it to someone else, and it goes through what's called a double close. This is a very advanced thing to do, number one. Most ordinary people would not be able to put that type of deal together. It can be done legally as far as the aspect of closing quickly twice and there being money left over between two transactions where you have an end buyer, you have a middle buyer, and then you have you selling it, and there's money between the end and the middle buyer, and it sells really quickly. There's ways of doing that that could be considered fraud if you sold it to yourself. Even if it wasn't considered fraud, it may very well violate the terms of short sale acceptance in the short sale acceptance letter that your bank ends up giving you. Typically, when you negotiate a short sale, you get a letter and it has terms. What are the terms of why we lower our payoff? And usually written in there is if you sell it to somebody you know, the deal's off. So that would, if you're selling it to your own company, you kind of know them. If you're selling it to your friend, you kind of know them. If you're selling it to someone who's going to give you money back, you kind of know them. And while you may never get caught, it's just there's some gray area there. Maybe even some just plain wrong things. You need to be really careful on what you do. A lot of people will also just sell it to an investor who's going to give them money back. Normally, investors justify that because that again will typically violate the terms of a short sale payoff letter. And they justify that by writing up some kind of bogus agreement saying they purchased some items out of the property and here's money for that. If they aren't really doing that, I wouldn't do that. Also, be very careful with investors because the typical rate of success for most investors is typically right around maybe 1 out of 10 deals that they make an offer on will actually get accepted through a short sale. That's typical. I made a lot of offers as an investor in short sales before I got my real estate license, and it was the way it was for me. It was the way it was for nearly everybody I knew. And it's because an investor needs such a low value in order to make a profit. They need to submit an offer to your lender that's so low that typically your lender just won't go for it. Sometimes they can trick the lender into to going for a really low offer, but normally that's not the case. And it's just not a very reliable way to get yourself out of a situation. Also, if an investor is making huge amounts of money, sometimes a greed factor can cause them to mislead you. That's why I recommend working with real estate agents, because they have a fiduciary, like an attorney-client duty, to take care of you and act in your care. They also know some of the local regulations and laws and the way things work and be able to advise you in this.